President Putin and Trump have been absent from Istanbul peace talks, which have been largely delegations representing the nations. And Volodymyr Zelensky has criticised Russia's delegation as actually lacking anybody with decision-making authority. So is this all smoke and mirrors? Is this mere pantomime, or have we actually started to see the first steps being taken towards ending bloodshed in Ukraine? Let's speak to Simon Diggins, military and defence analyst. Simon, thank you for coming on the programme. I mean, what do you make of these peace talks in Turkey? Do they have any substance to them?
Alice, good afternoon to you. I think they do. It doesn't mean necessarily they're going to succeed, but that we've had at one stage potentially 3 presidents on the move. We had President Erdogan, who'd actually called the talks. President Zelensky was actually talking to him, and there was indications from both Washington and Moscow that if the circumstances were right, then their 2 respective presidents would also fly down. Now, that also seems to have gone slightly into a slow pause time at the moment. And today we also had a sort of ritual shouting at each other.
Oh, the gremlins have got into Simon's system, it seems. Let's see if we can dial him back up and flush out some of the little zombie noises that were happening on that particular line, because we do need his analysis, because otherwise I've got to give it to you. Mine's pretty patchy. I wonder, actually, when it comes to whenever people want to host, to be the interlocutors in a situation and want to host both sides, there's always something in it for them. There's always something to gain for them particularly. And I think to what's going on at the moment with Donald Trump going around the Middle East and the role that Qatar has played in being the interlocutor between Hamas and America and Hamas and Israel. And people go, oh, Qatar, evil state, headquarters of Hamas in Doha. How despicable. They play both sides. They're not to be trusted. And yet Trump's been over in the Middle East speaking to the regional allies there and had a huge motorcade of cyber trucks welcoming into Qatar, including that really snazzy looking plane that they've given him, which apparently he's going to keep and then is going to go into his museum stroke mausoleum, whatever it is, after it's out of service. But Hamas have been very keen to sort of push themselves as an ally to the West in this, and people would say, well, actually they were hosting Hamas in Doha at the behest of people like the CIA who wanted to keep eyes on. So I kind of wonder what Erdogan's game is here. Why is he so keen to play the role of interlocutor between Russia and Ukraine? We can reconnect with Simon now and let him pick up where he left off about whether or not these talks do have substance, and can we be tentatively positive, Simon?
I think we can, but I mean, it's very cautious. I think your tone is absolutely spot on. It's actually, we're not, it's very much small steps. I mean, we heard from the Russian delegation leader, who originally President Zelensky said was a very junior negotiator, that he saw as the continuation of the talks in 2022. Now, they were disastrous, and basically it was Russia at its most arrogant in terms of its maximalist demands on Ukraine. On the other hand, positively, President Erdogan has been talking about Crimea's status, and particularly that, as far as he's concerned, it remains an integral part of Ukraine's territorial sovereignty. So the fact that those 2 statements are still in place and they're still talking means that potentially something positive might come out of these talks.
I mean, talk to me about Turkey's role in all of this, because what is so fascinating is that this sort of peace negotiation is taking place in Turkey, given that Turkey is actually a NATO member state.
No, absolutely. But of course, it's also a Black Sea power. And that's also important to them. For them, it's really critical that the Black Sea remains what it always has been, as a sort of major source of commerce and traffic through from there. And so they do find themselves, and very much they have been right through the history of Turkey and NATO, as a sort of frontline state. And they're still the frontline state in the sense of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, who are also Black Sea powers, is directly affecting Turkey and Turkey's commerce. And in the past, we've had closer relations between Russia and Turkey as well, while it still remains part of NATO. So I think it has, as the Foreign Office say, it has a locus in all of these things. In other words, it has a stake, a place in all of these for all sorts of important reasons.
Yeah, like he's at the centre of a Venn diagram almost. Before I let you know, go, Simon, I want to get your take on Trump in the Middle East, because he seems to be very comfortable when he's on a diplomatic jaunt in that part of the world. Not traditionally something that American presidents rush off to do, but but especially sort of making deals with Saudi Arabia to share weaponry. And then after that went off to Qatar, where there was a royal welcome, quite frankly, with the sort of Cybertruck motorcades, this flashy aeroplane, people in his party and the Democrats going, ooh, except that plane, it looks a bit funny. But Qatar is a really important Western ally, particularly to America, given, is it 10,000 troops who are based there? Oh, do you know, we've lost Simon again. There's some sort of strange thing at play here where we're never going to get the information we need out of him because there's bugs in the system. We're going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up with Simon soon, because there's a lot more to come out from the Middle East in terms of headlines. I can tell you that much. Trump, desperate to be lauded for being the great peacemaker. He did, of course, sort of get those Abraham Accords signed around the Middle East, which some people say caused the backlash from the Iranian proxies, who frankly don't want to see a settlement between Israel and their neighbouring countries. But he's at it again, and so far brokering some pretty impressive deals with some of the wealthier states in the Middle East, which might tick off Iran. But interesting to see how all of this develops. As you guys know, if you're a regular listener, I'm fascinated by geopolitics. I also wonder as well, with Trump's drill baby drill initiative, whether he needs to go and make friends with some of those OPEC nations who largely control the cost of oil by determining how many barrels of the stuff are produced. Oh, so much to wrap our heads around. Now,